Hello everyone, it is Jazz here. Yet again, I was in the mood for doing a book tag, so I went searching for one that I found interesting, and I discovered the Garden book tag, which was created by From the Dusty Bookshelf, and I will link you to her video in the description. I highly recommend checking it out because she talks about some really interesting and different types of books, and I learned about a lot of new books through that video. In this tag, you match flowers that might be in your garden with books, and I thought that was a super cool, very pretty thought and idea. So I'm gonna go ahead now and answer these flowery questions. Number 1, Rambler Rose. A long read with multiple main characters and plot lines. It twists, it turns, and it puts on a show with language. I kind of had to cheat on this one just a little bit because I thought of a lot of long reads that had plot twists, but they didn't really make a show with language. And I also talk about a lot of the long reads all the time, so I wanted it to be a little different. So I picked a book that had multiple main characters and did put on a show with language instead, and I went with The Hours by Michael Cunningham. This book has 3 main characters. One is Virginia Woolf, one is a woman who lives in the 50s who is going through depression, and the other woman is a woman named Clarissa, and Clarissa is the main character in Virginia Woolf's book, Mrs. Dalloway. So she's kind of reflecting that book, but in the modern world. So while this book is definitely not long, it does have really beautiful writing, and it does sort of have a very interesting plot twist and the way you discover all these women are connected. So it doesn't cover everything, but it does make me think of flowery, beautiful language. Hybrid Tea Rose. Modern and long-lasting, a collection of memorable 20th or 21st century poetry or short stories that stay with you for a long time. I decided to go with Ariel by Sylvia Plath, which is a collection of 20th century poetry. One of the early poets that I tried out was Sylvia Plath, so her poetry has definitely been part of my poetic life and the things that I think about when I think of poetry. And it does contain many of the poems that I really love of hers. Number 3 is Lilacs, a seasonally inspired book that you look forward to revisiting every year. Almost every year, every other year, when I want to read something Christmassy or holiday-ish, I'm either reading A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens or The Christmas Box by Richard Paul Evans. I usually alternate in between the two. I have not found a Christmas novel that I love more than these two, so I'm usually excited to revisit it one of these. Bleeding Heart, a beautiful dark work that broke your heart. I promise I did not pick this book because it has a flower in the title. It actually is my genuine answer, and the answer is White Oleander by Janet Finch, which I do actually have a physical copy, but I lost the dust jacket, so that's why this picture on the screen, and it's wrapped in this clothy jacket. White Oleander is about a young girl named Astrid whose mother murders her boyfriend using the oleander flower, which is poisonous, and basically her mother has to go to prison because she's done that, and Astrid is left basically hot from foster home to foster home, and the story basically unfolds with what each home is like and her different experiences. A lot of them are not very good, as you may guess, and so there are definitely some very heartbreaking moments, but it is the most beautifully written, poetical kind of book. Number 5, Queen Anne's Lace, a work that is sometimes seen as a weed, but that you see for what it is. Great literature. For some reason, when I heard the question, I thought of The Thornbirds by Colleen McCullough. Now, this is a very highly rated book on Goodreads, and I think generally But I feel like the people that really hate this book really, really strongly hate it. And I also feel like if you read a general summary of the novel, you might write it off as your typical romance novel. But it is definitely more than that. And I do think it is a really excellent book because to me, this book really is about a family and the people connected to that family and how the land that they live on changes their life experience and how the dysfunction of how you grow up can change your life experience and just the things that inform your behavior and things like that. And also I do think the actual writing is really excellent and wonderfully pieced together in terms of not just plot but the actual words used in the novel. Forget Me Not, An Early Bloomer, a work that you read early in life that you will never forget. Actually, this book was read to me. I didn't actually physically read it, even though I probably could have, but the memory of it is what makes me remember the book, and it is Winnie the Pooh by A.A. Milne, or however you say the person's name. My dad read this book to me when I was young, and he did all the voices, which I thought was really adorable because he's not an actor, he's an electrical engineer, and I just thought it was really fun that he put all the fun energy into reading this book and making it really fun for me, and thus I will always remember this book very fondly. Number 7, Pansies, a classic that is losing popularity. Once upon a time, everyone had them in their garden/library, but now they are being replaced by begonias or something more popular. Now, I can't say that I've read a ton of truly obscure classic novels, so I went for the classic that I thought was probably the least popular out of the classics in my collection, and decided to pick Tess of the D'Urbervilles by Thomas Hardy. Now, this is popular, I suppose, enough that it has been made into some film adaptations, but I don't hear it mentioned that often. I don't know that I've ever heard anybody talk about it on BookTube or in book reviews or any of that. So I feel like it is sort of going down in popularity. Maybe it's because even though it is a really excellent book, it is a very sad book, so maybe people aren't, super amped up to pick it up. Number 8, Trillium. Native to North America, in some provinces and states, it's illegal to pick these flowers, so pick a banned or challenged book. I had to go and look and see what books were banned or challenged, and let me tell you, y'all, I love or own a lot of challenged books, apparently. So it was kind of a tough choice, but I decided to go with Gone with the Wind by Margaret Mitchell. Now, this was challenged because obviously it is set during the Civil War and it centers around people that are in the South, and obviously the way that they refer to African Americans was not very favorable, so that's one reason why it's challenged. But also I've heard that it is challenged because people feel like it is sort of an idealistic look at the South. I get where people are coming from with those standpoints, but I personally still found myself able to love this book because I recognize that it is set in a time period, and there are certain things that go with the time period that you have to look at, and I feel like you can learn from those things. So I feel like if we sugarcoat it and just don't allow people to know that these things happen, that it's not really genuine either, you know what I mean? And I also just really enjoy the story because I think the way that the book really carries on through so many years, you get a full experience of this character's life, Scarlett O'Hara, from the time she's 16 on to the time that she's nearly 30, I think, or so. And that is just an amazing thing to see, the span of time and how the character changes and how the people that know this character change, and also just the way that the different characters play off of each other because of their strengths and weaknesses. So while I understand why people might have an issue with it, I also think there's a lot you can learn, or a lot of discussions that can be started with this book. Orchid, a work that was challenging to read and maintain because it is a difficult read. I am picking a book that I have not actually finished yet, and it is L'Amour d'Arthur by Sir Thomas Malory. So while the subject matter of this is very interesting to me, it is obviously about King Arthur and his knights and the different battles and quests and things that go on. However, it is written in Middle English, and Middle English I have found very challenging. No quotation when you have dialogue, and there are also some very unfamiliar words that were used that are nothing like how we speak now. This, I'm like living in the glossary like a lot. And I've actually heard that this book is probably more like normal English than some other books in Middle English, so I'm like, whoa. So after a year, I have only reached 146 pages because I started it last January, but I'm not giving up on it yet. It might take me 4 years to finish it, but I will finish it someday. Number 10, Fern, a book that sparked your initial interest in a topic before sporing into a whole TBR of books on that topic. So the only thing that I could think of for this is something Shakespeare related, so I just decided to go with the complete works of Shakespeare. Started reading Shakespeare when I was about in 5th grade or so, near the end of 5th grade. I'm pretty sure it's because I either watched Midsummer Night's Dream or Romeo and Juliet, and then I wanted to read those plays. So I checked out those plays, and that sort of spurred on a love of Shakespeare and trying to read all of his plays. Still haven't gotten to all of them. So not only have I tried to continuously read a new Shakespeare play, I have also gotten really addicted to finding books about Shakespeare that are interesting and educational, so that when I go and read the plays, I have a better understanding of what is going on. There's a bonus question, and the bonus question is, what is your favorite flower? Now, I have not actually seen this flower in real life, but when I look at flower pictures, I am so drawn to dahlias. I really think it's just great that they come in so many different colors and they have so many petals, and I just like, they're like a little beautiful thing opening, and they're like, look ginormous and just kind of cool and awesome. So that was the garden book tag. I'm not going to tag anybody specific for this, but if you see this video and you think that it sounds like a really interesting tag, I'll tag you. So I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I will see you on Sunday. Thank you for watching. Bye!